Hello everyone, Tom Elser with the BizDoc with this week's Numbers Scream. We're going to dive through several items this week. First of all, gas prices by state. All the discussion of inflation, where is it high and where is it ain't? Then we're going to drop into Venezuela. Is all this stuff about drugs or is it about oil? And then tax the rich, don't they already pay their fair share? We'll prove it. And then Warner and Netflix, who should be the buyer, who should get it, or should Paramount step in? I'm going to show you why it should be Paramount. And lastly, Oracle and OpenAI. We've seen the stock. I'm going to tell you why things are going in circles this week. First up, gas by state. Where is it high? Where is it low? Where is it inflation? And where is it just faux? Let's dive in. If you take a look at the map of the United States, the darker red are the areas where gas prices are highest. California, $4.59, leading the league. Washington, $4.19. Oregon, $3.82. No, wait a minute. There's refineries in California. There's oil right on the coast of California, not like the Gulf of America in Houston, but it's there. Why is it so high? Taxes. The green energy lobby has put taxes on gasoline and oil in these states to the point that it's the highest on consumers. They can blame Washington, and never mind who's president. When they blame Washington, that's not true. It's the taxes that are nearly $1 a gallon in California. Now, the lowest in the United States, Texas, $2.65, but the lowest right next door, Oklahoma, $2.50. Wait, aren't those red states with low tax policies on fossil fuel and energy? That's it. So you can talk about inflation in America. You can talk about buying foreign oil. You could talk about drill, baby, drill. But when it's tax, baby, tax, we all get hit. Because we don't just buy gas here, we take trips, we drive around, we go on summer vacations. And when we rent a car or we're paying for an Uber in these other places, the gas is part of the cost. So if you take a look at how the red states have taxed or not, and how the blue states have taxed, you will see the difference in gas in America. Look at the blue states, where their standard of tax is just do it, like Nike, and then look at the other places where they believe in a little more capitalism, free enterprise, and they don't want to put the burden on the very fuel that gets people to work, helps them fly on vacation, or as part of the Uber, the taxi, or the bus that they took to work. Guess what? That's the answer in it. So when you look at how the changes have happened just in 2 years, look, Oregon is up 7%, Alaska 7%, that's a red state. Then you take Washington up 6%. You can see where it's all going up and where it's not. And that's it. It's taxes on the consumer. Don't let them say it's just inflation. Don't let them say it's the price per barrel of oil. And don't let them say that it's the Saudis and the foreign oil. We have more than enough oil here. We drill all the time. And guess what? It's taxes on you and me. Second up, Venezuela. Is it all about oil? Maybe, or is it really about narco-terrorists and drugs and boats? I think energy has a lot to do with it because Venezuela, take a look here. They are sitting on the largest reserves. There's a deep valley that goes through the middle of Venezuela and a river. And on either sides of that is some of the most richest oil country in the world. Look at this, at the global reserves, 19.4% of the global reserves is there. So 20% of the oil around the world that is known reserves is in Venezuela. So now you can see how important it is to keep a stable government in Venezuela or to intervene and maybe remove one guy, Maduro, I'm looking at you, and put in a more stable government. When you take a look at all of this, look at the reserves. Now, U.S. has been all about drill, baby, drill, and we don't even believe we have found all the oil that is up in Alaska, up in what's called Anwar. So this could be even higher, but guess what? We're the #1 refiner in the world. We refine more oil. Oil becomes gas for your car, aviation fuel, also called avgas for airplanes, diesel fuel for trucks, and heating oil. There are so many products that comes out of it, and refining is where you take a barrel of oil and turn it into all those individual products. We are #1 in refining, yet we only have 3, 4, 5%, because this is probably higher if we're allowed to explore a little bit. And under drill, baby, drill, Trump is allowing us to do just that. Look around, find more, earmark it, and the reserve go up. A lot of this is in the Gulf of America, but as I said, also in Alaska and more. So there you have it, 19.4% at Venezuela, 17% in Saudi, 13% in Iran, 9.3% in Iraq. And this is the core members of OPEC as we know it, although this is the forgotten member of OPEC, way over here on the other side of Earth, and now you can see why. Because they're sitting on all this oil. So stabilizing a country sitting on those kind of oil reserves is also what it's about. It's not just about the drug boats, but the drug boats connect us to changing the president and getting somebody in Venezuela we can all get along with because what? There's business to be done, and it's the business of oil. Next up, tax the rich. You've heard the phrase. Elizabeth Warren talks about it. Democrats like to talk about it. But what's true? Are the rich really paying their fair share or not? You will want to save this clip and thrill your friends with this knowledge. So let's take a look at the list to find out where the rich pay and where they don't. Right up here at the top, 55% of the income tax is paid by the top 1% in Wyoming. Now, that's only $2.5 billion because there's not a lot of people there. But let's look at Florida. 54% of the income taxes are paid by the top 1%. That's $96.3 billion. So now you can see the red states and blue states as I put these little dots right here. You get to Nevada, New York, and New York, 46% of the taxes are paid by the top 1%, and they're at $79 billion, less than Florida. Look at Texas, even less than Florida. Shocking as it may seem, you come down to California, and the top 1% are paying 39% of the total income tax, but take a look at that. $122.5 billion, which they call it the sixth largest economy in the world, and that's why. But this 39% would be even bigger if you removed other and you looked at the number of people in California tax-paying units a little differently, this would be higher. So what does all this mean? The top 1% are paying at least 25% of the total tax in Alaska and over half the total tax in Wyoming. So when you say tax the rich, wait a minute, they're already paying it. Their income tax may be capital gains and other forms of taxes, but they, by God, are paying it, which makes jobs, which makes investment, which makes life a little easier for everybody else. But it's very fashionable to say we need to tax the rich. And yet, if you seized all of the money that the rich are holding, every penny that the top 1% is holding, you couldn't pay the debt for Social Security and Medicare that has been structured by the Democrats. And that's the truth. Warner and Netflix. If Netflix buys Warner, who gets what and what does it look like? Let's dive in. First of all, let's look at this recent Kalshi market chart. People out there that are putting up money to say what they think is going to happen feel that there's a 57% chance that Paramount gets Warner Brothers Discovery and a 33% that Netflix does, and they've made bets accordingly. But take a look at what's happened recently. The blue is Netflix, which appears to be dropping, and then the green is Paramount, which has come up just a tick. But why the big drop in Netflix? I'll tell you what it has to do with. It has to do with this. And if you don't know what that is Bob Iger's Mickey Mouse ears that he wears when he's in the office. Bob Iger has said that they feel that if Netflix gets Warner Brothers Discovery, it would be a duopoly with Disney. Well, of course Bob would think that way because he's the other part of the opoly and duopoly. Disney and Hulu and Marvel and everything that they bought and Star Wars. So recently people have been talking about it. And what they pointed out is hey, Netflix is already a big streaming service, but now they would get HBO, HBO Max, and DC Studios and New Line Cinema. They said that's a lot to be adding to them, and they already have a streaming service for you and me called Netflix and all the various levels that we could pay for with or without ads. Well, they also would not get Warner Brothers Discovery Global Networks. This global network would be spun out, they say, on the stock market, and CNN, TNT, Warner Brothers Discovery, Discovery Plus, and a bunch of digital products and Bleacher Report would all go out into this this stock. But if all of these cable nets are going down and the stock goes out on the stock market, then what happens to them? Well, we don't know what happens to CNN. We know that the president and a lot of conservatives, including this guy, feel that CNN has kind of maybe overstayed its welcome, and it either needs to get with the program of neutrality and some balance in the middle, or it's just going to suffer losing subscribers and eventually fade away. And that's what's going to happen. But right here, Bob has said, oh, Netflix shouldn't be allowed to do this. It'll become too big. I actually agree with Bob, but I agree because this way it would put 3 competitors out there. Warner Brothers Discovery under Paramount, Netflix, which is 3 times the value of Disney now, and then Disney, Hulu, and everything that's in there. It would give 3 choices to the consumer. It's very different types of content because you wouldn't get Marvel and Star Wars over at Paramount. You wouldn't get Marvel and Star Wars at Netflix, but it would be 3 different competitors pushing for the dollar for the consumer. And that is why you will find people out there that are making their feelings known using Kalshi and seem to feel that there is a 57% chance that Paramount is going to win and only a 33% chance of Netflix. Because the people that are making their votes in here, it's anonymous, but there's a lot of people, a lot of analysts, a lot on Wall Street that are doing it. And that is why and where I think that Paramount will ultimately be the winner in the Warner Brothers Discovery sweepstakes. And last up, Oracle in the headlines with the stock going down over the last several months pretty severely, and all this discussion of circular spending. I'm going to tell you what it all means. Let's dive in. So here's Oracle. Since about the beginning of the year, they were trading in the 175 range, and they're about up 8% to where they are right now. Let me get the right color pen here for you guys. That's easy enough. Love my new board. So you're up 8% since the beginning of the year. So from right there, all the way over to here, you're up 8%. And so, but what has happened in between? Wow, that looked like a fun ride. So what's up? What happened was Oracle, that also owns Broadcom and has also been a beneficiary of working with OpenAI on infrastructure, saw an incredible jump that followed the success and market announcements made by those other players. You take a look right here. There were big announcements that were made going into third quarter, coming out of third quarter, and you can see that the Oracle stocks really jumped. But here's what's going on. Oracle takes money and they give it to OpenAI, where there's purchases, but there's also equity investment. OpenAI takes some of that money and gives it back to Oracle for services and also buys a bunch of chips, of which Oracle's also involved. So people are saying, wait a minute, this is basically an AI circle where they're buying and selling from each other because Oracle's got infrastructure and NVIDIA's got chips. OpenAI is ChatGPT 4, I guess now what it is. And they're going around in a circle. In the middle of it, Oracle has publicly indicated that their consumption of cash is like $10 billion or so, based on the analysts you talk to, greater than the cash they'll bring in this year, which means they have to issue bonds or do other things. So that is the circle of life in AI, and that is why Oracle is feeling the pressure, because they are bleeding cash, as they say, generating less cash than what's going out, and what's going out is propelling the circle. Can it sustain? We'll find out this quarter on the next exciting episode of the AI Circle. So those are the 5 for Numbers Screen this week. If there's something you want, leave a comment below. Talk about something you want us to analyze. We will certainly do that. You can also connect with me and Patrick Bet-David through Bet-David Consulting. Stay tuned for a little announcement about that. Until next time, I'm Tom Mills with the BizDoc, and I hope I left you better than I found you.